Hi, this is River Audio, and I'm going to talk about an interesting phenomenon that you can experience when you compare low efficiency loudspeakers to ultra efficiency loudspeakers. And a few weeks ago, I described my experience when I A/B tested them, and that was after a time I have not heard the Mirages for a very long time, and my ears were calibrated to ultra efficiency speakers, listening to them as my main speakers for about 2 years now. And after that 2 years, how was the experience to return back to lower efficiency loudspeaker sound? And what I described was a feeling of stuffiness in the bass region. And I got a comment on that was it because the crossover had issues in the Mirage? And my answer is no to that question, because it has a good crossover in it, and the bass is actually very clear and very defined. But that stuffiness was not caused by the sounds be having a problem in the bass, but the stuffiness was the result of the major difference in efficiency. And it is something that we never ever notice, because we are not comparing the two kinds of sounds against each other. And also, when you compare it, we always compare it by our ears are being used to low efficiency sound, and then you hear a high efficiency sound, and often the difference is just so big that it doesn't compute for your ears. What you are getting is so different from what you are used to, that in most cases the brain doesn't cannot just deal with it, like what's going on. And the first thing that we notice when you go from low efficiency to ultra efficiency is like, what happened to the bass? Because one thing that you feel is that it's almost like some of the bass has just disappeared. It's like you don't feel it the same way as you did with a low efficiency speaker. But at the same time, your brain is in the back of your consciousness telling you that you are hearing something that goes much deeper, and it's something much more resounding and much more like real life compared to what we were getting with the low efficiency loudspeaker. And if you live with that ultra efficiency sound for a very long time, then when and your ears are calibrated to that, how low extension feels with the ultra efficiency, then returning back to low efficiency, it will break your brain basically, because you will be experiencing what that low efficiency sound is, and it will not be acceptable anymore. um, I will show you why. I will draw a little drawing, but before I go to that, this is not something that many of us can easily experience, because in most high efficiency situations or ultra efficiency loudspeakers, the bass just goes down to about 50 hertz, 40 hertz. It's very hard to make ultra efficient systems that go deeper. So what people are thinking is that when I go to the low efficiency system, I hear much more bass, because it extends lower. And in my case, the ultra efficient system actually extends way lower than my low efficiency system. uh, this extends strongly down to about 14.14 hertz in my room, and these guys are strong down to about maybe about 25 hertz. They give useful input down to that level. They are at minus 6 dB anechoic response at 30 hertz, so probably in my room they work down to 25 hertz, because the room adds a lot of bass extension. So what was happening and why did I feel that the bass was getting stuffy, oppressive, and just about unbearable compared to ultra efficiency. This is why. Let's draw a frequency graph. This is hertzes, let's say like from 20 hertz to talking about the bass about 200 hertz, and that would be SPL. So when I have music playing or like sound effects or watching movies, then basically the very loud sounds will have a dynamic range like that, and there will be the quiet ones like this, and I'm getting in something in the middle, and then the loud ones. So this is what I'm hearing. So actually some of the bass response will be very loud, some will be medium level, and some will be very quiet. And now when I went to the mirages, then I lost 13 dB efficiency. So this means that a 13 dB compression was added to the bass in addition, in comparison to what I was hearing. What does 13 dB means? It means 20 times compression. So what that says is that the difference between the loud and the soft is 20 times smaller than it was here. So basically, instead of that scenario, what I'm hearing now is having this big one the same level where that one was, if I'm playing it at the same SPL, and this tiny one is 20 times bigger. So basically these will be like almost as big as the big ones, and the whole thing would be basically almost like riding at the same SPL, while in the ultra efficient version I did get the a representation between loud sounds and quiet sounds. So that's why the bass feels as freedom. I just will spell it out, because that's the word I get when I'm listening to these speakers. Listening to the bass content of them is its ultimate freedom, and it's just something that really I never experienced with systems in general, and that's because of the very high efficiency. There is very little dynamic compression, and I get loud notes and quiet notes, and the dynamic range is the difference between the quiet and the loud, and the bigger the difference between them, the more dynamic your system is, and the more freedom will be experienced in the sound, which pretty much translates to it will sound more like a real life sound. So for example, if you are watching, I was watching movies a couple of days ago. I was watching Stargate series around the 6th season, and there was an episode where they were underground on an alien planet, and on the surface they were bombarding the surface with artillery shells. Actually, they were shooting it with spaceships, but the sound effects they used for that was the explosion of artillery shells, and of course these explosions were a little bit muted because they were at a distance from where the action was happening. However, because my system was able to render these explosions with dynamics, so when you have these shell shocks or machine gun fire or rifle shots, the most important element that makes those sounds so potent and so devastating is the extreme dynamic range that is contained in the information of those sounds. But when you listen to gunshots and stuff like that and shell shocks on a home theater or a typical low efficiency loudspeaker, this is what you are getting instead. You are not getting the shell shock effect, you are just getting a compressed, permanent, high energy sound. And that's why it will sound stuffy, it will sound like a special effect. And when I was listening to the Stargate's shell shocks on my ultra efficient speakers, actually it sounded pretty much the same as what I am hearing at late night, some of the nights, because I live very close to Schofield Barracks, which is a military base, and sometimes late night they are uh, doing practices. They are practicing with helicopter machine gun fire, shells exploding, machine guns, and so on. And I can hear that going on in the distance, like maybe like 5-6 miles away from me. And the movie tried to portray a similar thing, and it sounded just the same as if at Schofield they are exploding shells. And when I listened to that with a low efficiency sound system, it sounds not like the real thing, but it sounds like a very cheesy sound effect. And it's not because the system has problem with crossover, but because it's limited efficiency, it's unable to create a dynamic contrast because it's applying major compression to the dynamics, and we cannot fix that. The only way to fix that is to go for higher efficiency, and that's why in my channel I'm really advocating to go as efficient as your room allows you, as your curiosity um, and your environment allows you to go, because the more efficient you are, the greater the dynamic scale you will be able to experience. And in the world of audio, when people are talking about dynamic reproduction, I never ever heard anyone mention what is dynamic reproduction, how does it feel in the bass region. So when I hear about reports, they always mention the mid-range, the high frequency, and the general effect what it has on the sound. But I never ever heard a single person mention what's happening in the bass. So I think that this is why it requires an extra video to expand on that, instead of just a small comment that maybe two people will read and will go unnoticed. But it deserves the attention of all of us who are at the quest of going for uh, more natural sound and going towards high fidelity, instead of making sounds just showy and flashy, but going away from naturalness. So thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.